Hey guys, I just finished my fall semester at university, and given the free time I have over this winter break now, I decided I'd make the map tutorial finally. Over the past 3 years, I've been trying to figure out some way of doing this. I kept making all these scripts and trying to make poster boards of connecting in dots and information, and none of it was ever working. I never really liked how it was going. A bit of that was hyperbole. I didn't actually. Whatever. Anyway, so I decided to just go off script. I'm just gonna kind of walk you guys through how I got started modding. So my first map, if none of you, if you guys have heard of Carnivore's Migration, it was Delphaeus Chills, the first map in that mod. That was the first map I ever made, and it's a pretty simple reskin of Delphaeus Hills. But I figured it would be a good way to get into the basics of Alt Editor 2 and even the Rsc Editor, the two different things. So the first thing you'll need is the Rsc Editor. So you'll download this. You need to make sure you have the .bas file and also just the application file. I recall a member on the saga didn't have this file, and the program would never work, couldn't figure it out. So I looked at my file, and you definitely need that. So if you download it and it doesn't have that, you can contact me or just re-download it. It'll most likely be included in the file. So let's open up the application. Alright, so you'll have this little bit here. You can maximize it if you want, but I don't ever do it. The Rsc editor is a quick trip. You're not going to be using it for most things. There's ways to reskin maps through it. If you recall, Carnivore's modern days, all those maps were reskinned through the Rsc editor, to my knowledge. So if you want to make maps like that, you can try to figure out the Rsc editor. I could probably do it. I just don't think it's worth making a tutorial about. So what you'll need this for, among other things, but for right now, open file, and then you'll be in the RSC folder, but you'll need to, let's see, navigate to your Carnivores folder, whatever it is. I'm going to do Carnivores 2. I'm going to go to Areas, and then you're going to go to one of these areas. I'm going to go to Area 1, that's Delphaeus Hills. Open that up, and while you're opening a folder, or an area file, whatever, you're gonna want to not click on anything, and it seems as though I have. This is the first lesson in Carnivores modding, is that things will just break on you. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, but with this editor, I found that typing or clicking off or doing anything, basically as soon as you've opened that file, is a bad idea until it says the whatever sky is loaded. I forget what it is. But this is the first lesson, so it's crashing right now, so I just need to close it. I guess I can Alt F for it if it's not. Okay. It's gonna lag because my laptop just is like that. So I'm gonna go back into it, try to open it again. And this is just how Carnivores modding goes. Sometimes you gotta deal with how old the programs are and just fight through it, you know. So let's see. I'm going to go back to Carnivores 2. I'm going to try to open that. Hands off the mouse, hands off the keyboard. Hopefully it'll load this time. It usually does if you're oh my gosh, look at that. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So, if you guys are trying to make your own map tutorials for whatever reason, I wouldn't recommend recording the Rsc editor with OBS, because apparently it doesn't like to be recorded while it's opening files. Anyway, all you'll need for right now for this specific purpose is to go to File once you've opened a default Carnivores map or one from a mod, whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Export data as a PRJ is how you open these files in Alt Editor 2. So you're going to want to export that as a PRJ. And exporting as a PRJ, you're going to want to, so for Carnivores 2 here, since I have Area 1, Delphaeus Hills, you're going to want to save that PRJ. as area1.prj in the exact same file that you took the map from. Otherwise, it will not work. If you name it area, or if you name it Delphaeus Hills, you're going to open it in the alt editor, but nothing will come up because, it doesn't have the other files to take the information from. So, name it area1.prj. I already have mine, so I don't need to do that. And so, I think I already have it open in alt editor too, but just for the sake of showing you how to do it, you go to open project, you navigate to your carnivores folder, and then you open area1.prj. This will come up sometimes. There's not enough memory to load a random sound. You just close it. Sometimes it'll go away, sometimes it won't. It's usually fixed by just closing the editor and coming back. So let's do that. Just to say, a lot of people will open up Alt Editor 2 at this point, and they'll click all the buttons and it'll just be a black screen, and they say, oh no, I guess I don't know how to use the map editor, and then they'll just quit. I cannot tell you how many times I did this. I thought it would load with a map for some reason. I'm not insulting your guys' intelligence. I just did this, so I think it's necessary to say, don't lose hope by just clicking a bunch of buttons and expecting something to be there, because it won't. You need to open a file. So, let's open Delphaeus Hills and hopefully it works. There we go. Alright, so these buttons right here, they do textured view, flat view, and transparent view. Basically, flat view is the height map. We'll talk about that later. Flat view is just the textures, and transparent view is textures with shadows, so this is the shadow at day. I haven't figured out a way to move the shadows from like the day to dawn to night or whatever, but for what I know, the day shadows is all that Alt Editor 2 will show. So, this Delphaeus Hills, there's nothing new about it. Classic map that we all know. Let's see. So, right now, what I'm interested in is getting this covered with snow, rock, and ice, as I believe those were the only three textures that were in Delphaeus Chills originally. So, we've already got the stone texture. What we need now is ice and snow. As you can see, there's none of that on Delphaeus Hills, so we're going to need to go to a different map. If you can recall, I think Mount Ravan has snow on it. I think that's the only Carnivores 2 map that has it. If you want to make your own texture for the snow, you're welcome to try it, but I've always found the most success in recycling other maps' textures. They look the best. They match the rest of the Carnivores games, so it's probably best to go with that route for now. So, let's open a project. For now, I'm just going to go to Ice Age, because Mount Ravan's kind of tough to, whatever. So we're going to go to Ice Age, right in my Carnivores folder. I'm going to go to Ice Age, and let's just open up, I guess, Area 4, because that's the only one I have that has snow in it. This is Dry Notice Lake, just to say. Let's save the snow texture. And I save my textures to the desktop. You can save it into a separate folder. You can save all the textures you want from whatever map into a folder or whatever. And just to say, to save a texture from a map, you click it on this list over here. You can scroll up and down. Go to Resource, and you save current texture. Just to say, forgot to explain that. So, I'm just going to call it Snow, and we're going to save it and move back to Delphaeus Hills. Actually, let's see. Is there an ice texture here? There is. Let's take it. I'm going to do that same thing. Just going to call it Ice. And let's go back to Delphaeus Hills. Okay. First off, I'm going to save this project as a different area file, just so I don't mess up my Delphaeus Hills, so let's just call it Area 6 for now. Alright, so, first off, we're probably going to want to insert the texture rather than update it, because updating a texture, if you don't know, would seriously mess up. I don't know. It's worth experimenting with, but for today's purposes, we're just not going to. So these over here, join texture, insert texture, and update texture. Join texture, you add a texture, and let's say add ice. Goes all the way to the bottom of the list. I don't really want to do that, so we're going to delete that. We're going to put it way up here. We're going to click on this texture. We're going to put insert texture, go to ice again, and it'll be right there, right above the one you have selected. Update texture, well, this one, you click a texture, you go into it, you save, basically you just save over it with another texture. So let's say I had ice covering the map. If I updated it with snow, it'd be snow covering the map. So let's just insert ice again. Alright, so we've got the two textures we need. It's probably worth it to just go through and delete all these, but for now I'm not going to do it. So, first order of business, there's a lot of transitive textures in here, which if you don't know is when you have two textures that are adjacent to each other, and the way that the game and the original makers of the game and the modders get away with that is there is a way to select one texture, choose it as the first, select another texture, choose it as the second, and then you go into a texture generator that generates a transitive texture group, which basically is the gradients that you see between textures in the game. So if you go along the coast or whatever, you can see that there's a gradient between the sand and the grass here. So that's what makes the game look good. But right now it's kind of messing with our ability to do anything. So suppose I was to fill the map with snow, but only at a certain level, that would be okay if the stone all around the map was only at a certain level, but the stone is variable. If I'm not making sense right now, I'm sure I will if you watch the whole video. Anyway, right now, the transitive textures don't really matter. We're remaking the whole map texture from scratch, basically. So right now, we're going to select snow. We're going to press Control F, and it comes up with this. Fill with texture. So there's a lot here. Maybe not a lot, but there's some stuff here that would be confusing to a beginner. Visible field is almost never useful, to me at least. Basically, as you can see, this window here is kind of cutting off the bottom of Delphaeus Hills. What this selected would do is fill everything that you can see besides the bottom, and that would leave a jarring straight line of no texture. It would look weird, so I almost never use it. I can't think of an application for it other than just if you want to do like a square in the view that you're looking at or whatever, but I don't know why you'd want to do that. Anyway, selection we'll get into, but for now, whole map is what we want. Now, I'm not sure what discrete texturing and difference is, so I'm not going to get into it. Random rotate, if you can imagine, rotates the textures randomly. I kind of find it more appealing. There's less seams if you don't do it, because some textures aren't made to be rotated and still seamless. So right now, we're just going to leave it. Rotation 0. I'm not going to check random rotate, but you can if you want to. Sometimes it looks good. I'm not sure what minimal distance is. Density, I'll show that right now. So it was 1000. It's 1 to 1000. So basically it's a 1 to 100% scale. So 500 is 50%. So if I were to press fill right now, whole map, texture, snow, whatever, it fills 50% of the map with the snow texture. As you can see, that does not look very good. It's not usually a good idea to do that. It's a better idea to do that with the object filler. I almost never use it with textures, but just to say that's what it does. So for now, we're going to do 1000. As you can see, Delphaeus Hills is now white. I'm going to save this right now and look at it in game. So, snow texture, that's it. Delphaeus Hills. Little weird. So, what you're gonna need to do is every time you update a texture in at least like a visible and big way, you want to click this create approximated textures. What this does is if you've ever noticed if you're in debug mode, or if you're just like on a hill or whatever, you look out in the distance, sometimes the textures will get less detailed. It's to save memory because it's a 20-year-old game. Basically what this does is once it hits that distance where it makes the textures less detailed, it makes it bigger, whatever. What this does is it will make those approximated textures as they are. It will make them closer to what you have now. So if I were not to press this button, say you spawn here, within a certain radius you'd see snow, but after that you'd just see the normal Delphaeus Hills, and as you went towards it, the snow would follow you in a circle radius, but everywhere around that would be the normal Delphaeus Hills, and that looks weird. So we're going to go to commands, and we're going to click that. We're going to click whole map. I don't know why you'd ever not do whole map, but we'll do that. We'll save it as area 6, and I'll see you guys in game. Alright, so I lied a little bit. I will not see you guys in game, because Carnivores is a little iffy when you exit the program while you're in it. So I saved it as area 6. If you're going to be editing a default Carnivores 2 and save something as area 6, you're going to want to save a separate menu text file and a menu image file for that area 6. Otherwise the game will crash if you hover over it. So I'm going to go into Carnivores 2, and I just copied the Mount Ravan area files, so we're going to see 2 Mount Ravans, one for 200 and one for 0. This is the one we want. I don't need to go into this with anything, so we're not actually like showcasing a hunt or anything, so let's just go in. Alright, so as you can see, it's Delphaeus Hills, same trees, same everything, with snow everywhere. And as you can see, most modern Carnivores 2 patches, even though it's not Ice Age, if there's enough light texture on the ground, it'll have snowfall from the air. So that's pretty nice. As you can see, there's still a lot we need to do in regards to objects and textures and such. So let's get out of game, and I'll show you. Alright, so let's go back to Alt Editor 2, and right now what I'm going to do is, I've just realized this, we're going to save the map as. So if you heard me talking about a height map earlier and you don't know what it is, here's the section for you. So this Delphaeus Hills, we're going to save a height map as Delphaeus Hills. I've already done that. We're going to save it, and we're going to replace it, whatever. It's going to ask, would you like to save with water information? I'm going to say no for this one. However, I'm going to save it again. And for these purposes, it's good to have this. I'll explain in a future episode what water information can do. This is a very good application. This is the first one I used. I figured this out on my own. I was pretty proud of it at the time. Anyway, we're going to save it as DC water, replace it, whatever. And we're going to say yes to water information. So, real quick, I'm going to pause. Okay, I'm back. You save those to your desktop or whatever folder you want, and you're going to want to open whatever image editing software you use. I use Paint.net because I'm a weirdo or something. You can use Photoshop, you can use GIMP, you can use MS Paint if you want to. Any photo editor that you are comfortable with and know how to use it'll do its job for this. If you don't know how to use a photo editor, I would suggest doing that first, because if you can't do that, your range of map making will not be as good as some might want. So let's insert these two in here. As you can see, there's some secret stuff over here. I'm giving you guys a little sneak peek, I suppose. Anyway, so I've got these opened. This is the Delphaeus Hills height map. As you can maybe imagine, the darker it is, the lower it will be in the actual map. So this over here is all ocean, this over here is all land. these are where the mountains are, they're white, the deep part is black. You get the picture. So, what we want is we want that dark part to be flat. We want that to be ice on the Delphaeus Hills, remember? So, what we're going to want to do is, first of all, we're going to zoom in. This is just what I did. So, if your map doesn't need this, skip this part, do whatever. You can watch it if you want. So basically what I did is I read these RGB values down here. You click the very closest to the shore, so right here I suppose. You see it's 60. The height map goes from 0 to 255 or 1 to 256, whatever you want to say. So that's 60. So we're going to make the ice at 60 or 59. I believe I made it at 59. You can do whatever you want. Actually, 59 would probably work better because you don't want the ice to spill over on the shore unless you do. It's all very minor. It doesn't really matter that much. So we're going to go with 59 on these values right here. Otherwise, if you make them all 59, if you make them different for each, it's going to make a color. You don't want that. You want it to be gray. Anyway, so to change this all to flat land at level 59, we're going to need to select it. And in paint.net, there's a pretty easy way to do that. You take the wand or whatever it is, you select the blue part, and it has this handy thing where it only selects blue relatively, but it works for our purposes here. At a certain point, maybe it won't, but you can just toy with it. Make it so it only selects the blue. That'll be the water that you want to be ice. Luckily, I believe on Delphaeus Hills, all the water's on the same level, which makes this really easy. In other maps, it's pretty hard to get it because they have different water levels, but whatever, I guess I chose a good map for this. So it looks like we have all the blue, so we just select 59, I suppose. Let's see. Let's go in. It's 60. I'm going to lower it by 1. And then just fill it all in. Easy enough. Now as you can see, ooh, that's tough. Maybe it's not all at the same level. Damn, okay. Well, this is a little harder than I expected. If you want, you could just get rid of it. I'm going to figure this out real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I just decided I'll just do the oceanic ice for now. We'll deal with the other stuff later. I might honestly just keep it as just a pit. I might just remove the water from it. Whatever you choose to go with, it works fine. And I've just realized there's little bits over here that we do not want. So let me fix that up real quick. I'll just do that. Copy it and paste. So there we go. It's all fixed up. So if you're using paint.net, I'm not sure how it works with other programs, but it's usually a good idea just to do it. You're going to want to save it, save as whatever file it was. You're going to want to save it as a BMP. Make sure it's still 1024 by 1024. That's all good. So let's save it. And then open it in MS Paint. I believe Photoshop can do this by itself. I'm not sure about GIMP. I'm not sure about others. I use MS Paint. It works just fine. So you import the height map, and then you save as a 24-bit BMP. That should save it perfect. Yeah, okay. Just gonna load that map. Let's see. Delphaeus chills. So right now, the transparent view will still have the shadows from the old one. What you're going to want to do is go to Render Shadow Maps Precise, Whole Map, and Morning, Noon, and Night, because a lot of the time I accidentally only do noon, and it looks really weird in morning and night, so just make sure to choose all three. It'll be pretty obvious to know if you didn't. Anyway, let's just do it. And at the middle one, as you can see, it all flattened out. That's good. That's what we want. So, it's all flat now. Let's do this fill with texture thing for the ice, except this time we're only going to do it on a high level of 59, and it goes all the way down to 0. What this will do, basically, is it will fill that flat level with ice and nothing else, other than, as you can see, the lower levels of where the water used to be. It appears that it's only this one up here. I think all the other water is higher on the other, inlets and swamps and whatever. So what you can do is you can click this button up here, and this will show you where all the water is. What we're going to want to do is click this one here. This is how you set water, and we're not going to need any water for this map since it's all frozen. So what you're going to want to do is click it, and clicking existing water will delete it. So there you go. That's how you get rid of the water. So we're just going to do this, 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 and this. And we're going to save that file. And now let's open it in game. Okay. So as you can see, what used to be water is now ice. Looks pretty cool. The only issue here is that there will be plants that used to be in the water. It's a pretty easy fix once we get into it, but for now we can just deal with it. If we want to go to debug mode, might be a better way to look at it. As you can see, everything that used to be water is ice. And, oh, this is a good moment to show this. So, if you didn't know, if you're in debug mode, you press Shift and M, get rid of all the objects. This is what I meant when I said that the weird little texture thing when you do the approximated textures, once it gets past that little point right there, all this ice turns into snow because I didn't do it. I was wrong, it wasn't a circle, it's actually a square, but as you can see, it's turning into ice. If that shows up, I'm not sure if it will. But yeah, if you can see it, good. If not, it's there. It's easier to see with other textures that aren't so close in color, but I'm sure it'll come through. So let's get back to the map, and let's get rid of those objects. Alright, so we've got these textures over here, but how do you get to the objects? Well, it's right here. Let's go to transparent view, and as you can see, there's no objects in sight. You press this button here, and they're hard to see against the snow, so let's go into this view. And you can see all the objects around. This is all, everything. This is trees, this is ferns, this is rocks, this is the aquatic plants. This is everything that isn't a animal, a living animal, I should say, a water, land. That's basically it. Everything that isn't those three things is a map object. As you can see, this is all there is. All these plants, all these logs, trees, rocks, weird parts of the map. As you saw in the video, that little rock protrusion thing, that's not part of the height map, that's actually a map object. So right now it's not snow white, it's still the same gray rock texture as it was. So what we're going to need to do is change those, and for the ones that don't matter, such as the aquatic plants, we're going to select it right here, and we're going to just delete it. As you can see, they're all gone now. I'm going to delete the cattails as well, because what kind of cattail grows in ice? I'm sure they might, but they look a little weird, so I'm going to delete them. So what we've left with now is a bunch of green plants in a snowy environment, which is not what you want. So let's change that. Alright, so for the sake of time tonight, as it's almost 5 a.m. for me, I'm going to take the some of the plants from Delphaeus chills the map for migration, and we're going to import it into this map just for the sake of time. Maybe in the future I'll do a... Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I will in the future. In the part 2 to this video, I will demonstrate how to texture some map objects. I'm going to redo these from scratch. I'm going to try to make a slightly modernized version of this map, as the old one is kind of cartoony. The snow looks a little weird. So, let's get into it. We're going to... let's see. Let's do the Approximated Textures. We'll save this, and I'll go to my migration file. And again, this is just in an effort to save time. I'm pretty tired. As I said, it's 5 a.m. So I'm just going to go to my Carnivores migration file. I'm going to go to Area 1. And I'll just save some of these plants. So, as you can see, some are dead, some are snow-covered, you know. Some are unchanged, like the bunker, which I could change this time. It would be kind of hard to do it, but we'll see. Anyway, so let's just save this one. You go to Resource, Save Current Object. I'm just going to call it, well, I'm just going to call it 1 because it's the first in line. We're going to call this one 2. And we'll call this one 3. Let's see, I'll do this, and I'll do the trees for now, and let's see. Okay, save, what is this, 4, and let's just do this 5th tree, and let's call it there, just in the interest of time. It's pretty easy to see where this is going. If you don't, just wait for part 2. I'll get into it then. Anyway, let's go back to Carnivores 2. Let's open that area. Oh, not Area 1, we want Area 6. There we go. Alright. Let's save, or let's import, as I said, update object. Does this a little better. So every one of those plants on the map will be replaced with this reskin of it. So let's just keep doing that. We want 2 here. We want 3 here. And we want number 4 here. And we want 5 for this one. So that's how you replace objects in a map. It's pretty easy to do. If you know how to make objects, if you want to import objects from other mods, if you just want to reskin them, it's all pretty easy. It's nice to just be able to reskin a map like this, get into the basics. I would suggest you all start like this. If you want to keep going, if you want to, if this is in the future, if you want to watch the whole series and start at a more complicated map, you can try. I just started it like this. I would suggest you guys do too. I feel like it might be the easiest way to do it. So, you know, let's just save it. We'll see how it looks. And then I'm probably going to call it a night. I'll try to upload part 2 as soon as I can. But yeah, let's just get into it. So let's go back to Carnivores 2. We'll go into the map and we'll see how it looks. So let's see. Alright. So they've got this tree here. Pretty nice. All the trees are pretty snowy. As you can see, the sky still looks a little tropical, I guess. Or maybe temperate for how snowy it is, but we'll fix that. As you can see, there's still some green plants and uncovered rocks over here, but as you can see, there's no more aquatic plants over here, which is nice. As you can also maybe see, there's no approximated textures of snow on the ice, which is nice. And that's about it. Actually, let's see. If we go back into debug mode, I believe I replaced all this water. And as you can see, even though there's no water, there's still water sounds. Water sounds aren't stored by the water itself. They're actually placed on the map we'll get into that in another episode. I'm just kind of saying things as they come up. It's not all scripted, as I said. So yeah, this is looking okay for now. If you guys want to ask me any questions, ask them in the comments. I'll link the Discord if you want to ask there. If you want to ask other members who you know things about mapping, you're free to ask them. Just don't be annoying to them. I ask that you please ask me first, and if I don't know, I'll ask others, or I'll route you to them. So, thank you for watching the first episode. I'll try to get it out tonight, actually. I'll edit it a little bit, and we'll see. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back soon.